Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and yesterday we got a teaser trailer for one of the best edited teaser trailers, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, and that's 28 Years Later. Truthfully, I didn't expect this day to ever come. Like many of us, seeing is believing, and I didn't think 28 years later would have come well into my 30s. For the fans of the franchise, this teaser trailer was momentous. The editing, the sound design, the visuals were just so eerie and captivating while never giving too much away, which is something that we really want in teaser trailers. Nowadays, they just give you everything, and I hate it. Even for those that are not fans of the franchise, the trailer got you interested. That's why you're watching this video with me talking about it, breaking it down. So let's break it down. The trailer, the movie, and whoever's crazy idea was to lay that creepy audio over it. But first, we want to remind you to go check out nerdriot.shop, where you can find the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. There's merch for everyone or everything over there. We've got hats, bags, shirts, hats. Did I already say that? I think I did. Also, did I mention that everything is 30% off? Yes, it is, because it's the holiday season. Go get yourself something nice, something special at nerdriot.shop. It's the best way to help the channel, support it through wearing clothes. Y'all get it. Let's get into it. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes launching your own website a breeze. 28 Years Later opens with an overview of these cookie-cutter homes in the UK. So remember that the exposure began in Cambridge and spread rapidly across the UK. And this shot is the beginning of the disaster during Jim's coma, I presume. That's when we begin hearing the audio for the Teletubbies. The sound design is perfect for this teaser trailer, which is actually really crucial because sound design, especially in teaser trailers like this one, can give you more information or just bang for your buck more than dialogue can. And this teaser does a really good job of conveying just that. By the looks of the TV and the swirly vintage CD tower, yes, this is back in the day. The movie is called 28 Years Later, so keep up. A woman barges in, an aunt telling her nephew and other children to sit put and not move. This is the only real dialogue we'll get in the teaser trailer, and it's already heightened in tension. This is what I expect from a movie like 28 Years Later, constant tension and constant fear. This being the only bit of dialogue is such an insane depiction and idea. In a zombie outbreak, conversation is like the first thing to go amongst the infected in society. It's all madness from here on out, so subconsciously, I think we're already foreshadowing what's soon to come for humanity. Then it tells us it began. The 2002 movie trailer and the 2007 28 Weeks Later trailer use similar title cards, all black screens with white text. It's very similar to a Quiet Places trailer, which works in the same vein, learning and living in a post-apocalypse world. But what I like in the difference is that they all move chaotically, but our newest title card, which yes, could be a sign of the times. Those other ones were very retro, but also speak to how proficient society may have become over 28 years, more confident or stable and living in a world taken over by zombies. Or the infected. I know so many of you guys are gonna get mad at me calling them zombies. They're zombies. And just when you think everything is fine, a person thrown down the stairs, hitting the wall, clipsing a cross in the windowsill, and baby, there ain't no God here. We see more sporadic clips, a classic horror shot of a woman pressed up against the glass screaming for her life, quick gasps of breath separate each of these cuts, then blood splatters across the Teletubby TV screen, and nothing says untimely horror than seeing blood splattered across Lala and Dipsy's face. The title card tells us how long it's been in days, then we see zombies breaking through the church's stained glass windows and a preacher screaming. In the beginning of 28 Days Later, Jim enters a church, and you think it's all full of regular people, but it's actually zombies. And in this teaser, we're seeing the events right before that. This goes from screams instantly to audio static, the beginning of a record before the dialogue.
11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, boot, boot.
This audio is the 1915 recording of Rudyard Kipling's Boots. It's an early 1900s poem that was recorded in 1915. Today, it's most notably used in the US military survival, invasion, resistance, and escape training program, aka SERE, which is designed to equip military personnel with the necessary skills to survive hostile environments. Some call it a torture school because part of it involves detaining them in a small cell while repeatedly playing the scariest thing, a 1915 recording of Taylor Holmes reciting the Rudyard Kipling poem Boots. Honestly, that would drive me insane too. Beyond the use of the audio, the poem is still pretty wild. It depicts the British infantrymen marching endlessly, colonizing parts of Africa during the war. The poem suggests that this psychological repetition of torture, marching for weeks, not knowing where you're going, results in you going mad. Similar to how Kipling ends the poem, there's no discharge from the war, there's no return mentally or physically from the events of 28 years later. We return to the trailer with a small island vignetted by clouds. Upon closer inspection, it's a small village. Like A Quiet Place, living on an island is probably the safest move during the zombie outbreak, and you can easily monitor what comes in from what goes out. The repetition in the poem mirrors the repetition in their day-to-day lives post-apocalypse. They're using one of the earliest agricultural inventions. This could be how they work on this island somewhere in Great Britain, but I assume they've resorted to more efficient creations using fewer resources to fix them. A modern version of a seed drill would be harder to fix. We see a scarecrow, a makeshift one with an arrow in its head, and I assume it's linked to the child later that we see with a bow and arrow, who probably uses this for target practice. If you're a weirdo like me, you probably read the Zombie Survival Guide, or simply have learned a lot from The Walking Dead, and you learn there that arrows are much better than guns. You can't retrieve a bullet like you can an arrow. You'll simply just run out of bullets. Plus, they're very loud. They'll attract only zombies, so if a zombie outbreak happens, get yourself a bow and arrow. Do not use a gun. As the poem repeats a load of numbers, we see a load of makeshift graves. One says age 25 years, Nick age 35 years, some with rosaries. As inconsequential as these numbers are recited in the poem over this scene, it sadly reflects the same zero remorse or surprise for the lives that are lost. Then the text tells us weeks become years, how time flies, and the roles they play in their community, harvesting and gathering, creating reusable resources. Something that doesn't feel too strange in a world overrun by zombies, but a counselor, a seamster, watchtower, now those are different. Seamsters actually are very important, so I understand this one. We need to keep warm and we need protection. What's so telling is that these images are all taken from a book or illustrated for a hopeful tomorrow, except for the watchtower. That's clearly drawn on a reused piece of paper and looks like a new ordinance within the community. Not a negative one, but maybe not a positive one. Decorating for the holidays is super fun, but we like it when somebody else does the hard part, right? Let the professionals march into the forest with a saw. I'll know the perfect tree when I see it on the lot. That's what building a website with Squarespace is like. A ton of professionals giving you the options you need to build exactly the site that you want. Squarespace is an all-in-one tool that gives you everything you need to make a website that looks good and does whatever you need it to do. If you're doing any kind of business online, you know firsthand what a headache payment platforms can be. But with Squarespace, you can get started in just a few clicks and start receiving payments right away using popular payment methods like Apple Pay, ACH Direct Debit, Klarna, and more. Plus, Squarespace helps you get your site discovered fast with a suite of integrated SEO tools. Every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more. So you show up more often to more people and global search engine results. Arguably the best feature Squarespace has right now is the Design Intelligence tool. It combines 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with cutting-edge AI technology. It makes it so easy to build a bespoke website tailored to your unique needs. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The film's official synopsis reads, "It's been almost 3 decades since the Rage virus escaped a biological weapons laboratory, and now still in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single heavily defended causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors as well." So that synopsis, along with the trailer's tagline of "What will humanity become?" and the poster's tagline of "Time didn't heal anything," we should expect that sort of Last of Us society collapse and humanity failed kind of sentiment. We then see a building on the side is graffiti reading, "Behold, Jimmy, he is coming with the clouds." "Behold, he is coming with the clouds" is a verse from chapter 1 of the Bible's book of Revelations. Revelations convey the message to remain faithful to God and resist the power of evil, believing that God will prevail and bring salvation, which is interesting when they've scribbled Jimmy in place of God. Whether this is Cillian Murphy's Jim, his role throughout the movie is still kind of questionable. The trailer doesn't give much detail about Jim's role after 28 days later, except for maybe being the old lady from SpongeBob.
Chocolate. I remember when they first invented chocolate.
In theory, this could be our Jim, Cillian Murphy's Jim, but we just don't know yet. Then we first glimpse Aaron Taylor-Johnson wielding a bow followed by a young boy. I presume this is his son, and his wife may be dead. Later in the trailer, we see him hunting and he has a ring on his finger. We just haven't seen his wife yet. Unless, of course, his wife is Jodie Comer. That can be true, but again, a lot of the plot is under hush-hush. Plus, she has a baby throughout the trailer, and that's really just giving A Quiet Place and The Walking Dead. Jodie Comer is allegedly playing a mother on the run, though again, this doesn't confirm nor deny if she's married to Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character. Then we see an old sign for Holy Island Causeway. The Holy Island of Lindisfarne is in England and is cut off from the mainland twice a day during high tide, hence the danger warning sign we see. There's also a lot of deer in nature around here, making it great for hunting grounds, though you know damn well the high tide of that ocean covering that road will play a significant role in the story. They're gonna trap people on the island, or trap people out of the island. Then we get our first name title card for Danny Boyle, and what I really like here is the scratch marks along the screen on the red cards. As for Danny Boyle and what he has to do do with this film. At the end of the video, I'll get more into the behind the scenes and all the people it took to make this. Back with the trailer, they seem to be hunting, I assume for more resources or food. And as you'd imagine in a horror movie, they find something else, or something finds them. We see a scene I hate. At the top of this one large hill, with this one large tree, there's a bunch of zombies running all around, except for one. One is just standing there menacingly. Like the tree of life surrounded by death. I hate all of this. This is when the poem's effects start peaking in eeriness, gradually moving to frantic chanting, roars, and screaming.
Men go mad with watching them.
Unlimited vinyl or just audio hisses between the chants. This is overlapped with so much religious imagery. Literally, crosses and religious themes are everywhere if you look close enough. We see a man hanging upside down with a branding of an M on his back. Beyond the brand, you can see whip marks, so he's clearly been tortured. Then, of course, we get a jump scare. So clearly, this is done by people and not the infected. We see burned flesh moving around in the forest, so it looks like the zombies have evolved and can't be set on fire anymore. As the soldiers' helmets light the darkness, the fog is overreaching their sights, and the poem is hitting its climax. It's screaming at the top of his voice, locked in with this war, there's no escape. Then we get silence, faint scared breaths, and then a jump scare attack.
There's no discharge in the war.
As the poem continues in repetition, we see Jodie Comer and Ralph Fiennes walking through a literal boneyard. What has truly happened in the 20-something years? Who was the last left behind? Because zombies did not do this. I'll get more into this at the end of the video, but they've already started working on the sequel to this movie, which will be titled 28 Years Later, Part 2, The Bone Temple, and I assume they're referring to this place right here. The visuals are also great, and I think it's more of the fear of everything we see on camera that gets me, but knowing that this was shot over the summer with a bunch of adapted iPhone 15 Pro Maxes makes you like it a little bit more. It's like Sean Baker's Tangerine all over again. I will also add, if you want to be a filmmaker and shoot on an iPhone, go ahead, do it. I will never bash filmmaking creativity, but if you're expecting it to look this cinematic, remember there are a lot of accessories and rigs built with this camera. The camera sort of works like a processor. Well, the phone's camera works like a processor. Like The Walking Dead and The Last of Us, it's clear that there are different settlements at play, different factions around the world, and this area could belong to one obeying a different deity. There's always that one group in these post-apocalyptic world movies seeking salvation from something that's just like, not great. It's not Jesus, it's not God, but it's something else. We see this half-dead man rising from the flower bed. From the looks of blurry Jodie Comer, no one was expecting him to rise up from the flowers like Nosferatu. Everyone thinks this is Cillian Murphy. Even Deadline reported this as Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy was confirmed in the spring to appear in 28 Years Later. We didn't know to what degree, but a Sony executive told Deadline that it would be a surprising way in a way that grows. So this makes sense to be a zombie by now. It's just not what I was thinking. Then quicker cuts, mainly showing Jodie Comer's character and the young boy together. No Aaron Taylor-Johnson here. Then the trailer ends with the endless numbers counting down, the same things for a different day, reflecting the culmination of 28 years later.
4/17/32 the day before.
The teaser trailer is literally my cup of tea. I'd be amiss not to clock though how many times I said this felt like The Last of Us or The Walking Dead. And the thing is, I believe 28 Days Later really cultivated a lot of the inspiration for those shows. People sleep on this movie, they sleep on 28 Days Later, but I think it was my favorite and first zombie movie that wasn't, Resident Evil, and it was great. The original movie was written by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina, Annihilation, and most recently Civil War. He returns to write this movie and reunites with 28 Days Later director Danny Boyle, who directed Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire. According to Variety, this movie will serve as the first in a trilogy of sequel films spearheaded by Boyle and Garland, and it's shot back to back with 28 Years Later Part 2, The Bone Temple, and that one's directed by Costa, who did Candyman and The Marvels. Amongst the great actors we saw in the teaser trailer, there were also other new cast members that we didn't really get a look at, like Aaron Kellyman and Jack O'Connell and Ed Van Riding, and I'm so sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but he's the man that's next to the train. 28 Years Later is slated to drop June 20th, 2025. A lot of the plot is still under hush-hush because remember, this is a teaser trailer, a tease, not the full-blown trailer. That'll come later down the line, probably next year. Comment down below your thoughts on the franchise or just the teaser trailer at all. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you scared of it? Follow me at Lulu_Clemons, subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you little freaks later.